네, 오늘 두 번째 시간은 중국 유색금속공업협회 산하 코발트분해 비서장 동쉬님께서 중국의 코발트 시장 현황과 그리고 전망에 대해서 말씀해 주시겠습니다. 接下来有请中国有色金属工业协会钴业分会秘书长许爱东女士。从93年起，徐爱东女士在北京安泰科信息股份有限公司作为镍和钴资源以及电池矿物市场分析专家工作。2010年起，还担任中国有色金属工业协会钴业和镍业分会的秘书长。 네, 아이동슈님께서는 1993년부터 현재까지 안타이커 인포메이션사에서 니켈, 코발트 그리고 배터리 광물 시장 분석 전문가로 재직 중이십니다. 또 2010년부터 중국 유색금속공업협회 코발트 분해와 니켈 분회 비서장으로 활동하고 계십니다. 앞서 안내해드린 바와 같이 궁금한 점이 있으시다면요, Q&A 창에 올려주시고요. 저희가 발표가 끝나면 연사분께서 질문에 답변하는 시간 갖도록 하겠습니다. 今天我们难得的机会请到了我们的秘书长啊，请大家仔细聆听，然后若有疑问的话呢，请在问答板块上提问啊。我们3位嘉宾发言完毕后啊，我们进行问答环节。那么我们现在把我的麦克风递给我们的秘书长，有请。네, 비서장님 발표 부탁드립니다.
Yeah, good afternoon. Can you hear me? Yeah. Yeah, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Xu Aidong from CNI Cobalt Branch. I'm glad to attend the 2020 Korea's Mining webinar series. The topic of my presentation is cobalt industry status and outlook in China. Okay, next. Next slide, yeah, okay, yeah. First, let me give a brief introduction about CNIA Cobalt Branch and Antec. Cobalt Branch of CNIA was founded on 2010 April. There are about 46 members companies by the end of last year, which represent about 90% of refined cobalt capacity in China, and more than 50% of cathode materials capacity in China. Antec is a professional consulting company under CNIA. At present, Secretariat of CNI Cobalt Branch is undertaken by Antec Nickel Cobalt research team. Yeah. Then I will introduce Chinese cobalt industry from following five parts. The first is China's position in global cobalt market. The second is both 3C and EV stimulate the cobalt consumption. The third is a lack of resources promote investments abroad and recycling. The fourth is status of import and export of major cobalt products. The last one is supply and demand outlook for this year. First, let's see. This slide shows the China's position in global cobalt market. We summarize the characteristics of world cobalt industry in 3 sentences. That is, raw material concentrated in Africa, refined output in China, and consumption in Asia. Now, China accounts for 67% of refined output, but consumption is mainly from China, South Korea, and Japan. This slide shows the shares of China's refined cobalt output and consumption worldwide. We can see that the refined cobalt output last year is about 94,000 tons, accounting for 67%. And this year, the output is about 97,000 tons, and the share increased a little to 67.3%. And the consumption of refined cobalt last year in China is about 72,000 tons, accounting for more than 52%. And this year, the refined cobalt consumption in China is about 78,000 tons, increasing by 8%, and the share is about 55%. In China, this slide shows the refined cobalt output breakdown and the market share of top 10 companies in China. In China, we see that most of the refined cobalt output is salts. That last year, the cobalt salt output account for about 84%, and following by the cobalt cathode 10%, then cobalt powder. This structure is quite different from other countries. We know for many of the foreign countries, cobalt cathode is a major product. The graph in right shows the market share of top 10 companies. We can see that this share ranges from 8% to 95% from 2015 to 2019. Most of the capacity distributed in Zhejiang, Jiangsu, Jiangxi, Gansu, and Hunan province in China. For China, now China is highly dependent on the imported cobalt raw materials, especially those from DRC. We have three pictures in this slide. We can see that in last year, about 84% of cobalt raw materials in China consumed needed imported, and 90% of them is hydroxide, and about 94% from DRC. Because this is from the second part of the presentation is the lack of resources promote the investment abroad and recycling. Because China is lack of cobalt raw materials, there are many companies invest abroad and focus on recycling business in China. The global cobalt reserve is about 9 million tons, and the combined cobalt reserve of top 3 countries is DRC, Australia, and Cuba. These three countries account for 76%, and the raw materials output account for about 79% globally. Yeah. To promote the development of whole value chain of EV in China, early of this month, China government published development plan of electric vehicle industry 2021 to 2035. Chinese government encourage enterprises to improve their capacity to secure the key resources such as lithium, nickel, cobalt, and platinum, and improve the power battery recycling system. Now, most of the Chinese enterprises investment abroad is in DRC. Some project in Zambia, and there will be some project in Australia and Indonesia in the future to secure the cobalt resource. Till now, Chinese companies have invested overseas in cobalt reserve of about 1.6 million tons, with equity reserve of about 1.3 million tons. The cobalt investment has an annual production capacity of about 50,000 tons of cobalt mine output, and an annual production capacity of 90,000 tons of intermediate products. Till now, Chinese companies take a great achievement in investment abroad. And as for the recycling sector, every country make great effect, and China is not exception. For recycling business, first let's see what we want to do. We want to do the recycling business because of in the scraps battery, rich of nickel, cobalt resources, some high value of nickel and cobalt, and the lack of resources. Extra recycled lithium will add income further. And we must to do the recycling business because requirement from environmental protection, centralization of processing can alleviate the negative influence of the environment as much as possible. And third, for the distribution of the recycling basis, we can see that China government published the qualified companies list dealing with battery recycled business and set up some facilities abroad. Now, Chinese companies not only set up the recycle bases in China, and also set up some bases in South Korea and Chinese Taiwan. That is recycling and investment abroad. Now, next, let's go to the consumption side. We can see that in China, consumption structure is that battery sector, battery materials account for about 83%, and hard alloy account for about 5%, and superalloy, magnetic material, and catalyst account for about 3% respectively. And in battery field, about 83% for 3C and 70% for EV. In China, China's mobile phone shipment in first 9 months this year is 226 million units, down by 22%. But in this year, 5G ratio account for more than 60% for consecutive months. And in the first 9 months this year, LCO output in China is nearly 52%, up by 21%. And the total output of LCO is last year is 58%. And in the first 9 months this year, NCM output in China is around 140,000 tons, about 12% less than the same period of last year. But we estimate the total NCM output this year will keep the same level as that in the last year. And in the first 9 months, we see the about 33.3 gigawatts battery installed in EV in China, in which NCM account for nearly 70%, and 30% is LFP. About we estimate in this year about 65 gigawatts will be installed in EV for year. And Chinese new EV vehicle purchase subsidy and tax exemption policy has been extended for another 2 years. That the subsidy will be ended in 2022. So this will promote the production and the sales of EV in China. It is expected that EV will account for 20% of car sales in 2025. So we estimate till then, the EV sales in China will reach 5 million units till 2025. Next, let's talk something about the trade, import and export of main cobalt cobalt products, because South Korea is the main the destination of export from China. In the first 9 months in this year, China import volume of cobalt concentrate was about 3,000 tons, decreased about 40% year on year. And in the first 3 quarters, the import volume of cobalt intermediate products is about 52,000 tons, about 3% decreased year on year. The total cobalt content in the first nine months this year is about 55,000 tons, about 6.6% less than the last year. And most of the consumption in China and about this picture has some problem. And about 81% of the raw material is consumed in China, and about 20% export. This slide shows the import and export of cobalt cathode. In the first 9 months, cobalt metal imports increased and export decreased. China imports of cobalt metal in the first 9 months is about 3,842 tons, up by 2.5 times of last year. And the export of cobalt cathode dropped a lot. In the first 9 months, China export about cobalt cathode is 824 tons, about down by 44%. This is the NCM export by NCM import. Both import and export of NCM in China in the first 9 months increased in this year. China imported about 43,000 tons NCM, about 79% year on year. And South Korea is the main source, accounting for 83%. 83%, yeah. And this is NCM export. In the first 9 months, China export NCM about 27,000 tons, up about almost 1 times of last year, and most of them to Poland, to Eastern Europe, and to South Korea is about 38%. And this slide shows the NCM precursor import. We can see that in first 9 months, China imported about 1184 tons of NCM precursor, about 72 lower than last year, and about 66 from Japan, and then 19% from South Korea. And this is in the first 9 months, China export NCM precursor. In the first 9 months, China export about 64,000 tons, up by increasing by 35%. And South Korea is the absolute leading export destination. Almost all of the NCM precursor export to South Korea. This is the import and export of cobalt powder. We can see that decrease in cobalt powder import and export in this year. In the first 9 months, China import 186 tons of cobalt powder, mainly coming from Belgium, Canada, and Finland. And for cobalt powder export, China export 574 tons of cobalt powder in the first 9 months, mainly to Japan, South Korea, and Germany. Yeah. At last, we give the give the supply demand outlook for this year. In this year, the spread of epidemic worldwide, especially in DRC and South Africa, the outbreak of COVID-19 influenced the logistic and the shipment of raw materials. But both output and consumption in China keep moderate growth rate. Just now, I have mentioned the exact number. And there are some supply and surplus in China market. And the cobalt price will change in a narrow range in near future. We think for cobalt, the price will not have a drop a lot and will not, how to say, stimulate. So the price will soar a lot like 2 years ago. The steady cobalt price will be helpful for cobalt consumption in the future. That's my the main point of the presentation. Thank you. And this is the report of our of Antec's nickel cobalt, lithium cobalt, the report. Thank you for your attention.